Hello, welcome along. Today, we're going to discuss the important topic of dealing with disappointment. We are in intense times on this planet. My goodness, it's relentless, isn't it? And none of the plans that any of us have had about where we want life to go, what we want to do, are really going according to plan. Or are they? I don't know. You tell me how your plans are going. One thing I do know for sure is that disappointment is rife. So many people have had their lives, their livelihoods thrown upside down on their head, turned inside out. And the last 2 years have just been absolutely incredible. And so, how have you dealt with those moments where you have faced disappointment? I'm sure at some point, something that you really wanted to happen, something that you really wanted to do, maybe it was an event, maybe it was meeting a particular person, maybe it was traveling somewhere or a trip, maybe it was a shared experience, maybe it was a direction in your livelihood. I don't know, a move to a new place. It could have been so many different things, right? Was there something major, or have there been several major things in your life where it didn't go according to the plan that you wanted or how you had intended? And in that moment, you were deeply disappointed. You were deeply disappointed, or maybe certain opportunities and pathways that you thought you had ahead of you have vanished or changed or shifted or are no longer accessible to you, right? So the disappointment is present. And so how do we deal with it? What do we do in those moments? And how can our spiritual experiences and the wisdom that we have collected through our spiritual moments and states of being, how can they help us in these moments, right? So that's the core of what I want to discuss today. So when disappointment happens, it's so easy, isn't it, to go into a mental spin, right? We have the plan and then boom, it doesn't happen for whatever reason, or it goes pear-shaped, or some other factor gets thrown in, like, you know, say say a global pandemic, right? So things come into the picture that shift everything that we didn't expect or anticipate, nor can we control, right, what's going on. So the plan gets shifted. Well, then what, right? There's several things that can happen. The first thing that usually happens is, because we've been so pumped up and so in the mode and so in alignment with where we want to do, where we want to go and what we want to be doing, that boom, the disappointment hits. And we can very quickly at that point spin into this mental cycle of, you know, it's all the disappointment self-talk that comes in, right? Like, oh my God, this, I'll never be able to do that. This will, I'll never get success in that area. I'll never be able to see that person. That will always be out of reach for me. Or maybe we spin into a personal spin about it of, I'm not good enough. I'll never be able to do this. I can never make it, right? I can't get success on whatever level. And so the mental spin comes in hard and fast with the disappointment, right? And it just beats us down and down and down. And so emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, we just get into this dark spin. And what we end up then in is the pity party, right? We can end up in the pity party. And here's an important piece that I want to put in, because many people, when we get to this point in disappointment, there's a messaging we have that it is negative to stay down for so long, and that we shouldn't be in the disappointment. We shouldn't be in the negative vibe, right? We shouldn't be putting it out there. Particularly those who have had their spiritual experiences might want to keep it all love and light and all really positive and not express the disappointment when it's there. Well, what I'm going to share now is, look, if you need to have a pity party when you're at that point where you're at the deepest point of disappointment and, you know, shit, it just didn't happen how I wanted to happen, and that really sucks, right? Have the pity party. it's going to be a lot faster, that the whole process will move a lot faster if at that point right there you just allow yourself the pity party. And you know what, don't just do it a little bit and dabble it in, really allow yourself to have it. If you're going to have a pity party, do it well, right? Even get up in your pity party costume if you must, so you can at least have a laugh at yourself at the end of the day, right? Because if you can manage to sprinkle a bit of humor in this, good for you, bonus points on that, because it does really help. And the reason why it's important to allow yourself to have the pity party at that point is because you're allowing yourself to be in your vulnerability. You're allowing yourself the emotions that is a real sense of grief, of not being able to be with, attain, achieve, whatever it is, unify with the experience that you have moved towards, with the goal that you have moved towards. And so the grief that you experience is a real thing, right? You had invested your time, your energy, your resources, yourself, right? Your focus. You had invested yourself towards that direction and it didn't happen. And so it is okay. It is okay to grieve that plan isn't going to eventuate in that way, right? It's not going to happen the way that you wanted, and that's okay, particularly if it was around a very special event or something involving a special person in your life, right? And the big ones that have really broken people's hearts is not being able to attend important, significant things of loved ones, the weddings, the births, the funerals, these really being with people in their last dying days. These are such important things that have taken place recently, where normally we would be able to be with each other. And there is deep disappointment and grief that is occurring when we cannot go through what is otherwise either a celebration or a healing process in those moments, right? So this is very real. These feelings are very real and we need to acknowledge them. So when I'm talking about the pity party, I'm really saying let yourself have the emotions, be with them, allow them to be present, and know that, here's the nature of how we work. We like change and variety by how we are structured as human beings. And so when you're in an uncomfortable place like the pity party, if you really dive into it, it's the faster you're going to pick yourself out of it as well, because there's a part of us that just doesn't like being there either. So that's why I'm encouraging you to lean into it. If you really need to do it, go do it. Have the pity party, do it really well. But here is the key now. Do not dwell there. Do not dwell there. Allow yourself to experience it and do not dwell there, because you will not be serving yourself ultimately in the long run, nor, is it going to be, you won't be in your strength when you are there, right? You will be in your strength when you allow yourself to do it and move through it. And naturally, like grief, like these natural flows and stages through grief, there is a natural flow in dealing with your disappointment. You allow yourself to have it, to be disappointment, and there is a natural shift that will occur to something different, right? And you will only get to that different space when the new thoughts come in and your creativity can come in. You can access different parts of yourself once we have allowed the disappointment to occur, right? And the grieving of that disappointment and things not going to plan to occur. So we do that, but we do not dwell in that space, right? And this is that whole thing about you fall down, you cry about it, and then you dust yourself off, you pick yourself up again, and maybe you fall down 20 times, but you pick yourself up that 21st time, and up you get again, hang around a toddler and watch them fall on their face, smash their face up again and again. And what do? Bloodied lip, they get back up again and they keep going, because they are built to walk. They are built to move forward in life and have momentum and to do things and have other experiences, and not to stay in the pain and suffering of that, although they experience it, right? They experience it. They don't deny the pain and suffering of that moment, but then they move on and beyond it. So we don't dwell there. And now, as soon as you have felt that shift, right, and it is a felt moment, you will discern that your energy is different, your thought space is different. It's like after you have a really big cry, you have that really big cry, and eventually the tears stop. Eventually we get to a different space where we and something shifts, right? And it can be a very brief moment, but in that moment that you discern where that shift is occurring on, that is that moment where you are ready to shift gears now into something different. And so here is your opportunity to move now from feeling very vulnerable, very down, very disempowered, very beaten, into a very empowered mode. This is the moment where you can work with your natural, your innate system that knows how to do this. You know how to do this in your core if you allow your natural processes to move through and don't block them as your natural channels move, right? Trust in your innate wisdom. And this is the moment now where you are able to rise above the stuckness and the stickiness of that situation that has had you down, that is ugly, that is uncomfortable. And now you can call upon your strength and wisdom. And here is why understanding our spiritual experiences and harnessing them is so important. Because when we've had these experiences, we have been in states where, you know, we have been our expanded self, our uplifted self. You know, you have tasted parts of what it is to be your greatest capacity, right? And even beyond the personal self, that very pure state of being. You have touched into that, you have tapped into that. And so these are the experiences that can help us navigate the very tricky, sticky, stuck human experiences that are an inevitable part of being human. They're going to occur as long as we are in this human form with our human design and makeup and our personality and our individuality. This is what we've got, right? And we interact with the world. So tapping into the strength and the wisdom that you know from your expanded states of consciousness, from your deepest knowing that is innate to you, it is part of you and always with you. This is the moment to remember to tap into that, to that part of you. And when you tap into that part of you, this is where you reconnect with your strength again. This is where you reconnect with your creativity. This is the space of expansiveness where something different can happen. And you now have the ability to shift gears once again into an empowered mode of being, an expanded mode of being. But it's important to have the conscious conversation with yourself. Be aware of the process taking place. Be mindful of the shifts that are naturally happening through the waves of the emotions that come through. When we don't deny the emotions, we're mindful of them. And we make the conscious shift at that point, right, to carry on. We also need in that mindfulness to be able to sort the emotions from the facts of the situation. What is the emotion that might potentially be hijacking us as well to return back into those stuck states, right? Be very mindful of them. Where are the emotions helpful? What do we need to allow to be present? But which ones might be pulling us right back in again, right? Mindful of that, the emotional flow, and to sort that from the actual facts, the actual data of the situation. What is it that actually needs to shift and change so that we can once again move towards that which we had been wanting, desiring, growing towards in the first place? Maybe the entire vision and goal needs to shift itself, right? Or maybe we can still get there and do something along those lines if it's that important to us, but there's a different way. But we have to move through the dross of the emotions first so that we can allow them to be present, allow them to do that tsunami, and then subside somewhat so that the space opens up once again. And so in that space, we can ask ourselves, what needs to shift? What needs to shift now so that I can have a more empowered experience whilst I navigate this situation? Because disappointment might come again, right? The unexpected things that happen in this world that we cannot control are going to happen again, right? Life, we're going to bump up against life again and again and again, and things are not going to go the way that we necessarily wanted. So that flexibility in those moments to deal with the deep disappointment, that's what we are connecting in with. Let me know how that sits with you. Let me know, have you used your spiritual experiences, your sacred knowing, the wisdom of your experiences to navigate moments like that, to navigate the deep disappointment that comes up? Have you gone beyond disappointment so you don't get disappointed anymore? That would be another process, right? And another way of going. And how does that relate back to your spiritual experiences and expanded states? Let me know. I always love to hear from you. Peace, be well, and stay sane through these cray-cray times.